There's nothing a retired governor can do, but a president, now he can do a thing or two.
Everybody wants to rule the world.
I will be frank with you that as a citizen, I would not like to see any political party outlawed on the basis of its ideology, because I still believe, Mr. Chairman, that democracy can handle it.
I was a brand new KGB officer, given my first intelligence assignment. A certain actor and union leader.
Dutch, there's a purpose for your life.
You can run from a bully for so long, but after a while, you're gonna have to stand up to him.
There's about to be another war right here in Hollywood. The commies on one side, the mob on the other. And you're right in the middle, son.
If you put as much work into your career as you do making your speeches, you'd have an Oscar by now.
Hello, I'm Nancy Davis.
Hello, Nancy Davis. I'm Ron Reagan.
I'm curious, Ron. What would you say is the issue of our time?
No question about it. Communism and the Soviet Union.
Get in the game. Run for office.
It's you!
I'm running for governor, and I would like your vote.
I forgot your name.
Do his initials help, RR?
Honey, Roy Rogers is here! And he's running for governor!
Ronnie, remember when we met? You told me that you wanted to make a difference in this world. You know what you have to do.
Governor Reagan again, typically, is against such a proposal.
There you go again.
But he was not afraid to take us on.
There's nothing a retired governor can do about the Soviets, but a president, now he can do a thing or two.
Welcome to your life.
I was a lifeguard on a river,
There's no turning back.
and I learned how to read the currents. Not just the ones on the surface, but also the ones deep underneath the water. I am about to start the biggest war of this century, and I'm not going to fire a single shot.
You're gonna blow up 8 years of diplomacy.
Well, if you think that got their undies in a wad, you just wait.
What did the president know, and when did he know it?
What would you have me do?
I want you to fight!
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Wants to rule the world.
Man, Jarrett, there's so much in that, just that trailer for the movie. I think it's super inspiring and motivating, and I think you might, which would be fair, have to start calling me a little bit of a crybaby, because I tear up. I tear up at things like that, like motivational, inspirational, like, and I was thinking about it. We were talking before the show about why, and it's because I care so deeply about our country and the direction our country's headed, and everything that's going on and everything we're facing. And so, you know, the left and the liberals have been trying to silence this movie. I mean, it's all over social media, how Facebook has been pushing it down in the algorithm. Dennis Quaid's come out and talked about that. We have members of our team that have already seen this movie, but you know, I care very deeply of the direction that we're headed, and one of the most famous quotes from Ronald Reagan was that, and I'm going to paraphrase because I don't have it exactly word for word, but at any moment we are just one generation away from losing our freedoms. And I believe very strongly that we're not just one generation away from losing our freedoms. We're one election away from losing our freedoms.
Yeah, and that's so true, Mike. That trailer was so breathtaking. I know what I'm doing this weekend. I'm definitely going to go to the theaters and check that out. But that song was just so, you know, just matched so well. You know, not because Reagan wanted to rule the world. After you mentioned how they're trying to push this down on social media with the algorithm, the left wants to rule the world. And you got to think about that, right? You have a powerful leader like Reagan, somebody we need to hear about in this day and age, and they're trying to shut it down because it's counterintuitive to what they want us to do. And it's just crazy. Like, it's going to be a great movie. Dennis Quaid is a phenomenal actor. And I think there's a lot of those things in that movie we knew about, we learned about in school, but this new generation, they don't have the same reverence of it. So they need to see stuff like that. It's going to bring a love back to this country that we need. I'm excited to see it. Mike, you're probably excited to see it as well.
Yeah. No, and what's funny is you and I, we're almost exactly to the same age, and I'm sure you're in the same spot, and you grew up very differently than I did, but both of us remember what it was like at that time, and Reagan running for president. I think he was elected. Was it in 80 and 84? I think is that the right years? Maybe Darius, if you want to pull up those stats and fact check me on this one, so we make sure we get the right information out here. But I remember because I was born in 81. I don't know if you were born in 81 or 82, Jarrett, but I remember going through that at that time and the emotions that were in our country and. 81 to 89 is when he served. So yeah, the elections were in 80 and 84. I was right. Win for Mike. But I remember, we were in a lot of ways a similar place that we are now, and in a lot of ways a different place. And we've had a lot of people compare Ronald Reagan to Donald Trump, and I think in some regards they're similar. I think Ronald Reagan was a nicer person than Donald Trump, or at least didn't have as many mean tweets. Of course, that didn't exist back then anyway, but I don't think he would have been. I think he was a little bit more polished as a politician, and times were different, really. Like, we were just in a different time back then where, people didn't, just in general, everyday life, people didn't swear as much as they do now. People had more decency. So it's just a different time.
Yeah, so right. You couldn't say that half the words you could say on TV now, like 5 years ago. Before, some of the stuff I see on basic cable now is you see full nudity. You didn't have that like literally 3 years ago. So we mentioned similarities between Trump and Reagan. You see them there. They both came up in you could say both came up in Hollywood. They both have a reverence for this country. They're willing to do what's right, even though other people might be against it. So I do think there's a lot of comparison there. And I think right now in this time period, this is why the social media giants are pushing this away. They want no one to see it. They want no one to see like, oh, there's such a similarity to Trump and Reagan. And you're right. Trump is a little more brash. Doesn't use such nice words. And again, I always say this: if I was on his staff, I would take his cell phone away so he couldn't tweet. But there are a lot of similarities about the things that matter. And so that's the important thing. And also, they were both willing to work with the other side. When is the last time we had a president besides Trump who was willing to work with the other side? That was Reagan. And Bush to a lesser extent. But Reagan was willing to cross party lines to do what's good for this country. And right now, in this high time of division, we need these changes. And then, Mike, you're in California. This movie would be so good for the people of California because you guys haven't had a politician like this in California in forever.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, the last time we had Reagan in office in California as the governor of California. Now that was before I was alive, but the closest thing that I remember in my lifetime to anything that was any level of something I would have even remotely close to what I would have wanted would have been the Governator. And he was really a rhino at that, right? But at least he wasn't Gavin Newsom. I mean, that's been nothing but a debacle. But I think Darius, did we have a video clip? It seemed like you were trying to bring up a video clip about something that Jared mentioned. Go ahead and play it.
Said that you're supporting Trump in the presidential election. I was looking at that. I'm going to confess something. I've also said that I'm voting for Trump, but I'm not going to lie. Trump is not the same character as Ronald Reagan. You can stick with the marriage alone to see.
I'm totally with you on that one.
Right?
I mean, the presentation is totally different, and I think it reflects the times of which we're in now. You couldn't say a four-letter word on television
True.
6 years ago, and now you can say anything you want. But I think the thing about Trump, I've even cringed at sometimes the things that he says. And please don't say that and all that. But at the same time, I will say that the principles that Trump has are very much the same.
Yeah, there's Dennis Quaid saying almost exactly verbatim what you and I were saying, Jarrett.
Yeah, and it's true. And if you think different than us, or you agree with us, let us know in the comments, especially about that last clip. So we'd like to hear what you guys feel about that clip too. Was Dennis Quaid and Megyn Kelly right about Donald Trump? Let us know in the comments below. But in my personal opinion, I do think he's correct to a certain extent. I do think, again, the things I like about Trump, maybe because I'm an East Coast guy, I'm from Jersey. So I love the personality. I love the openness. I love the bluntness. I love that he doesn't try to sugarcoat stuff. He talks to you like an adult. There was this clip the other day of Kamala Harris talking to a group of college graduates like they were kindergartners, just like talking down to them. Same thing when Biden does. When he went to the HBCU graduation, he talked down to them and said, "Hey guys, you just graduated. It's so great, but the white man's going to get you. So your degree is worthless. Just be scared and black and be a victim." And just more nonsense. And then that's the thing I like about Reagan. Reagan never did that. Reagan was like, "Hey, pull yourself up by your bootstraps." It wasn't about race for him. It was about putting America first. And we need someone who wants to put America first, because I love my country. Mike, I know you love this country, and our viewers, I would hope would love this country too. Some of our trolls might not, but if you continue to watch, guys, you're going to end up loving the country too. We promise you that.
Yeah, I know probably most of our audience, Jared, is similar in beliefs to you and I. They care about this country and are concerned about the direction we've been heading. And if you guys are concerned, make sure you are staying in tune with what we're doing on social media. Click the notification so you get notified every time we go live, which is every day, by the way. But get notified every time we go live. Share our content with somebody that needs to hear that, and also support the companies doing the work behind those same values, like Covenant Coffee, who's been one of our longest time sponsors here at 511 Media Group. You can find them online at covenantcoffee.org. You can find them in Bakersfield at Mohawk, California. You can find them at North Chester, but they do so much for the community, especially the emancipated foster youth, where they provide jobs, mentorship, and keep the kids from becoming statistics, the kids that nobody cares about because they're no longer a financial asset, which is sad that people view it that way. And we're going to be talking about the kids that are also no longer a financial asset here later in the show. But guys, go check them out online, covenantcoffee.org, and continue to promote the values that we care about by supporting these organizations and taking part in events that are happening across the country, like the event coming up in December that Jared and I will be at, which is AmFest, brought to you by Turning Point USA. And we got a quick little video to play on that. Go ahead.
What you represent, your presence here, at the largest multi-day event in conservative grassroots history. Is a message that will be heard by these people.
Phoenix, Arizona, people from all over the country.
It's remarkable because it brings everybody together.
One of my favorite of the year.
Energy, let us want you to see it.
The stakes are high. We have only begun to fight.
It's funny. Every time I watch that, something new sticks out to me. The left doesn't want you to see it. The left doesn't want you to see the Reagan movie, or some of this content, we're going to be talking about movies and entertainment today. The left doesn't want you to see these things. The left doesn't want you to be there in December 19th through the 22nd in Phoenix, Arizona, to be part of that celebration. The left doesn't want to see the minority communities lifted really out of the bondage that they've tried to keep them in for so many years. And they don't want their eyes to be awakened and the shackles to be removed. And that's why I love Turning Point USA and Blexit and everything that those groups are doing with their events, like the Night of Faith that's coming up in just less than 2 weeks now, Jarrett.
Yeah, less than 2 weeks. And About America Fest, this is the last week for early bird special. So if you want your early bird special rates, you got to get them this week. Just let you guys know. But you got this amazing event coming forth in Philly. It's called Blexit Night of Faith. We have these all across the country. Some great praise and worship, some amazing speakers, some great preaching. We're going to have Pastor Lorenzo Sowell, Madeline Brain, Pierre Wilson. I'm going to be there. Mike's going to be there. It's going to be a great time, some amazing food. And this family-friendly event is free. So make sure you come out to this free event and see what Blexit is all about. And also, commune with some like-minded people. And if you don't like Blexit, if you don't love the Lord, come out too. You might learn something, and everyone is welcome. So white, black, it doesn't matter. You're all welcome to this event. So come in peace, and we'll see you there.
Yeah, and guys, I think everything Blexit's doing is just amazing. What they're doing for the minority communities, and I think what I've learned by being with Blexit and talking to many of the people from the Blexit community is a lot of times a conversation with them will go, when did you become a conservative? And I've learned that question needs to be switched to, when did you realize that you were already a conservative? Because many of the people in the minority communities have been conservative their entire life and just didn't realize it because the indoctrination of the left has tried to keep them down, has tried to say, hey, as Joe Biden said, which is frankly one of the most racist statements, if you really look at it, that could ever have been said. If you don't vote for me, you ain't black. And I'm paraphrasing because I don't think those were the exact words, but it's pretty dang close. I'm paraphrasing, but just barely. Right, Jared? Do you remember?
Oh, you're almost spot on. I think he said that. And I think he used the word ain't too. I think he does what these liberals always do. They speak in broken English. They use Southern long drawls, like Hillary when she said, I ain't got no something. Like what? Who says I ain't got no? Black people don't talk like this. Uneducated people talk like this. By saying this, you're telling me that you think all black people are uneducated. AOC did the same thing at the DNC. She was just had this accent that comes out of nowhere when she's talking to black people or talking to minorities. And frankly, it's insulting. The way I was raised, my parents said, no slang, you will speak proper English in this house. And that's what we learned. We learned English and it helps you. It's like, again, we bring this up a lot, the soft bigotry of low expectations. They think we all have low expectations. We all don't matter. And we all need a handout from them because a lot of liberals have this savior complex. They have to save the less fortunate. And to them, we're not people. We're like these lost puppies or these people who can't use computers. We can't get IDs. And again, like I said, it's insulting. And we can ask every single black guest that comes on the show till now, so next 50 years, and they'll all say the same thing. They have an ID, and they can speak proper English, and that's just, these are just the stereotypes they put out there in the movies and television. And it's funny that when you have a movie like Reagan or a movie that's like positive, you don't really see stuff about it. But then you have something that's super negative, or like take that movie with Carly B. I forgot what it's called, but there are a bunch of strippers robbing people. Oh, they sung the praises of that movie. It was women independent. It was feminist empowerment. And it was a bunch of strippers robbing people. And then you get a positive movie or like Uncle Tom, and they don't ever want to talk about it because it's black people saying things that goes against the liberal agenda. Quite frankly, I'm tired of it. And then I'm also tired of the attacks on white people. Like we say, we're going to fight racism with more racism. It's ridiculous. I hear this Reagan movie is racist. Then I hear racist things out of other people. Like case in point, Amanda Seyfried, the woman who starred in The Acolyte. She blamed racism for her horrible show failing. Not because other people, you guys changed Star Wars up, you put a whole bunch of nonsense in there, or you try to have two lesbians get pregnant with the Force, just making crap up that ticks off Star Wars fan. No, it's because a white men were being racist and didn't support my movie, right? Even though before she started, you know what? Let's just go to the video. You guys are going to enjoy this one.
When people watch The Hate You Give, what do you want them to walk away with? Because I know everyone has a slightly different feeling.
Well, I mean, white people crying actually was the goal.
Shameful. So this is the same woman who now wants the same white people she was trashing to support her horrible acolyte show, right? So Mike, I'm asking you, you're I'm the resident black guy, you're the resident white guy. So how do you feel when you hear someone say some stuff like this?
Really, and I thank God that I've had the experience, the mentorship, and all of the things that I've had in my life, because it's allowed me to come from a different viewpoint. And really, I just feel sorry for people, I have the confidence, and I talk about this all the time, but I have the confidence that comes with knowing who I am in Christ, and having had a track record of having successes in my life, and having the tenacity and the grit to keep going even when things don't go my way. So I know that I can get up and keep going, and I know that when people do things against me personally, even, and I wouldn't say that this is personal, but when people do things against me personally, I'm able to take that and say, you know what, like, I feel sorry for you, one, because that must come from a place of really broken, damaged, hurt, and insecurity. But also, the second reason I feel sorry for you is because I know my God, and He won't stand for it. He's going to get you, and like, I'm not going to have to ask Him to get you. He don't like his kid. Like, as a good father, Jarrett, and you can say this, as a good father, I won't stand for my kids being messed with. And I won't always intervene because sometimes they need to learn. Sometimes they need to gain those life skills. But at a certain level, I will intervene, and you ain't going to touch my family.
Exactly. You don't want to mess with a strong father, because fathers, are the ones who protect the home. Fathers are, supposed to lead. And you also know a lot of kids who have, who end up getting kidnapped or molested and other things, because these awful perverts look for families without fathers. They look for that. They look for they can attack. So when they see a kid and a father come, this is why when you're a father, you need to go to your kids' activities. You might not want to, you might be tired from work, but if they see a father and you're like my daughter's cheering, I make sure I show up to her game so they know, hey, she has a father in her life, so don't try anything crazy, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm here. I love this world. I love people, but I'm willing to die for my family, and that's how every man should be. I'm willing to risk
hesitation.
Without hesitation, I'm willing to die for my family, because that's our love there, And I learned that love from becoming a Christian, because Jesus died for us, and there's no greater love, And I just think about that when I'm trying to be a father, But then I also think sometimes about the kids who are less fortunate, who don't get these opportunities, And I'm so glad that we have conservative movies now highlighting stuff like this. Shout out to Angel Films. You guys make fantastic products. And I think, Mike, we need more movies like this. We need more movies like Reagan. We need more movies like Sound of Freedom, Sound of Hope, Nefarious, and these fields, because, again, we don't have a lot of, you would say, do you think we have a lot of conservative, fiction? We have tons of biographies, but do you think we have anything that's like fun for conservatives?
I think we have a bit, but not enough, right? But I also think, generally, like, I'm not for, in general, pushing an agenda of any kind through entertainment. But what I am for is having values that I can identify with, that I agree with, that I believe in. And so, a lot of and I don't see this, I don't think there's a lot of conservative media outside of, the podcasts and stuff like this. But there's not a lot of conservative media out there in general, TV shows or movies or whatever. But the ones I do see are not openly and blatantly pushing an agenda like a lot of movies, like for example, a lot of Disney movies, a lot of those things. But one of the things that stuck out in my mind as a father, going back to that for a second, Jarrett, you're right. It's not easy, and for someone like me, for someone like Jarrett that works 12 to 14 hours a day, we work our tails off. We have to make a point. We have to be intentional about being involved in our kids' lives. So, I just give you some examples. If you're looking for ways to, I'm really busy or whatever, how can we be more in that? And like, for example, I take my kids with me because I go on work trips a lot. And I know Jarrett goes on work trips a lot. I take my kids with me on a lot of those trips. I make a point, like my littlest hit me up today, Daddy, can we just go out, just you and me? And so my wife and I were talking today, okay, what can we do? Like, make a point to take my youngest son out, and I do, like, typically once a month at least, one-on-one time with every single one of them, including my spouse. Today, we're going to do some things as a family, and get together in that way. So, we have to make time for it, Jarrett. And, we talk about media, and media's played such a important role in society and culture, and they push these agendas, but we do need more conservative media. We need more values that are pushing conservative ideologies, or more media that's pushing conservative ideologies and values. And here's what Andrew Klavan had to say about that.
Conservatives can't just be making documentary after documentary. We have to get into fiction. Why is that different? Why does that make a bigger impact?
Well, a wonderful documentary like Matt's can have a hard-hitting impact on a moment. It can have a hard-hitting impact on a political idea. It can get somebody freed from prison if they're innocent and they were wrongly convicted. It can do all kinds of wonderful things. What the arts do is they actually build and erode very slowly. I mean, what the left has been doing for 60, 70 years is eroding the ground under your feet. You stand on the beach and you feel the water go in, you feel the sand pulled out from under you. That's the way the arts work, because they affect what James Joyce called the conscience of the race. They basically kind of give you a way of seeing things that grows over time. And if we don't have a voice in that influence, we're not going to be able to change the way people see things.
Yeah, so I think Andrew Klavan put it very articulately. He laid it out there, how we need to be, as conservatives, involved in media, involved in culture, and we are having a hard time with that, because they push, the powers that be in Hollywood especially push back on any media that is conservative, or at least that has values. They've gotten to the point, and really, I don't know if they're waking up, or it seems like maybe they backed off a little bit. I also don't pay super close attention to stuff that's going on in the entertainment world, because frankly, like, one, I don't care, two, I'm too busy, but I do watch movies that I care about, and I make a point to take my kids to movies, but we watch everything before they watch them, or at least watch with them, if nothing else. And then if something comes up, because it does sometimes, we have a conversation with them about, because my kids are little. I think your kids are older, Jarrett. But, my kids, at 6, 8, and 11, we've had to have conversations that I would say that I wasn't prepared for, but God gave me the words and the time that I needed them.
Yeah, you got to be open with your kids about television shows. You got to sit down and watch with them. You got to figure out what they're watching, what they like. And you're right, when stuff comes up, it might be an awkward talk, but you got to let them know what's going on. I always had these talks with my kids since they were little. So if we're watching something and something comes up inappropriate, they already know it's inappropriate. They know it's wrong. So if we're watching a movie and all of a sudden two men start kissing, they're not going to be influenced by it. They say, "Oh, this is cool, I want to do that." Just like, they might look away for a second, or they're teenagers. They might have some jokes, stuff like that. But other than that, they're not influenced by it, because I made sure to tell them, "Hey, these things, some of these images you will see are wrong." And when, as parents, we have to look past what we like ourselves and realize, hey, we might like this show, but is it appropriate for our children? So sometimes you might be in your living room watching, I don't know, a TV show, and you forget your kids upstairs because they're so quiet. You're into your show, and they're hearing everything you're watching. So you got to be cognizant of what you're watching too, because what you watch, they're going to want to watch. You grow up watching football, your son's going to want to watch football. Your dog's going to want to watch football. You know, so if you watch horror movies, your kids are going to want to watch horror movies, right? So it really matters what you take in. And also, we do need more conservative stuff. And the stuff, you are right, is under attack. Like, look at Chris Pratt. He makes very conservative movies. You know, he doesn't have any LGBT agenda. And they say he's the most hated Chris in the world. Like Chris Pratt, come on. Like,
you know, Chris Pratt's a Christian too, Jarrett.
Yeah, that's what they say. They hate him. They hate him because he loves the Lord. Like that Tomorrow movie he had, or like it was on Amazon. It was fantastic, right? And then he Park and Recreations. He's a funny guy, right?
Oh yeah, he's great. Yeah.
But they hate him because he has a faith, right? They hate him because he went to Hillsong. They hate him because he's not going to push agendas in his movie, right?
You know who else? Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg the same way, right? He has Christian values too. Oh, and Mel Gibson. I didn't hear Mel Gibson was crazy until he started doing Christian stuff. And that's another thing too, right? It's so blatantly obvious, the attack on Christianity in Hollywood, that even the atheists are coming out. If you look at Rainn Wilson, right? Rainn Wilson is a hardcore atheist. And guys, I love The Office. It's one of my favorite shows. But I mean, like, it's hilarious.
We need to watch that together. Yeah, I watched that on repeat.
Yeah, me too. Office is great. You guys should check it out if you haven't watched it. But oh yeah, it's great. But I lost my point because you start talking about great Office. See, when you're an Office fan and you start talking about The Office, everything else is
your mind's wandered to Dwight Schrute and Jim Halpert.
Oh yeah. So Dwight might be a religious guy, but the Rainn Wilson, he's a hardcore atheist. But he was watching some new show that came out. Oh, Just Us or something made off a video game. And he said, why are Christians under attack? He's like, every show I watch, the Christians are the bad guys. And he's like, I don't even believe in God, but this is wrong. We need to stop doing this. So now when you have atheists defending Christians about the attack on Christians, that should be a red flag for everybody. But again, no one really wants to pay attention to stuff like that.
Well, and again, the reason that I am encouraged, Jarrett, and I was talking with Ludavia, my beautiful bride. I love you, Ludavia. Got to score a couple extra points here while I'm on video because I know she'll see this. But she knows I also mean it. We were talking this morning about how all of these woke movies don't do well, Jarrett. But then you see movies that are anti-woke, or not even necessarily anti-woke, but pro-America, and the pro-America movies do great. And you and I talked about that before we started the show today. And the pro-America movies do well. And why is that? Because the vocal minority do not represent the majority of America. I still believe that even though our values have continued to be eroded over many decades, that majority of Americans are still very pro-America. They believe in God. They believe in what this country stands for and what it was founded for. And so we have movies like Maverick that have done very well. And you and I talked about this, and I think maybe you didn't remember, but when Maverick first came out, it was like they tried to shut that up because it was too pro-America. Well, guess what? Everybody loved it, right? Go ahead, Darius.
One film reminds us what we love about movies. Top Gun Maverick is now nominated for 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture.
The only reason I'm here is you.
Top Gun Maverick.
So it did very, very well in sales and at the box office because people still care about America. People still want to be inspired. People don't want to be told, oh, you're white, so you're racist. Not, you didn't do anything racist. You're white, so that means you're racist. And what's crazy, Jarrett, and would love to hear this from a black man perspective. I think there's much more racism on the other side towards white people than there is, historically, sure. But now that's very much switched. But it's okay to be racist towards white people, right?
Oh yeah, all the time. I saw this video of this girl the other day, and we won't play it because it's just super inappropriate. But she just had a list of different names to call white people, and just racist. And I'm thinking Okay, but if this was a white man or a white woman saying the exact same thing you were saying about a Mexican or someone who's Jewish or someone who's black or God forbid somebody who's in Hamas, right? They would just blow a gasket and it'll be the end. You'd be canceled. They get
Bro,
fired.
we might get arrested.
Yeah, you get arrested because it's a hate crime, right? And the thing is, like, no racism is right. So I think people forget the teachings of Martin Luther King Jr. And again, we could talk about him, on another episode because he was kind of Marxist. And
yeah,
but we can talk about that and talk about another episode.
Charlie brought that in a fire podcast. I think Pierre was on that podcast, Jarrett. But it's a very different perspective that is not shared. But I great point. A little bit of rabbit hole here, but yeah, well, we could talk about that in the future too. I think we should do a future show about racism, actually, Jarrett.
I think so, right? Because it's so prevalent now, and anyone can be racist. And the thing is, like, I'm gonna say something, and some of our black viewers might get upset, but black people are just as racist as white people, especially the black people. We have colorism, right? Because you're a different shade than me. If you're darker, I'm lighter. We don't like each other,
really?
Right?
That's a thing.
Yeah, colorism is a huge thing. Like it's there, so there's a mistreatment thing depending. Sometimes if you're darker, depending on when you are, black people treat you different, and in other places, depending how light you are, they treat you different. So based on your color, there's racism there, and it's called colorism. They don't ever want to talk about that, and that's super prevalent. There's also just straight racism. Like when I see people saying, "Oh, who do you want to win these awards?" on the award show, that one lady, "Oh, only black people." Now, if a white person said that, again, people would be so upset. So you got to realize, there are racist stuff, and you can't do that just because you're black. Black people can be racist. It's not, if you only come from a place of power and you have to be controlled. No, that's nonsense. Racism is hating somebody or saying something crazy because of their skin tone and because of their race. And it's completely wrong, right? I don't like racism. And guys, there's a time and place for everything. We watch movies, we watch comics, and they joke about stuff. I love Archie Bunker. I love comedians who just pull no punches about everybody, right? And they might say a racist joke here or two, but we're all laughing. We can't take it back and we all had fun. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the blatant racism, telling white people they can't sit in this room with you, or telling the white people, you can't come in here because you're white. This is a black room only. I'm like, we fought against segregation, and you stupid Gen Z people, or I shouldn't say stupid because we'll get dinged, but you misled Gen Z people are trying to bring it back. Your family people got sprayed with hoses. Black, white, all of us got, not us, but people before us got beat to get you guys together. And now within one generation, you guys are separating because you think you know so much. You guys know nothing. Please watch our show so you can actually learn something, guys, because we want to help you. You're not lost, but it's so frustrating. It's frustrating.
So you brought up that about Archie Bunker, and what popped in my mind, and I'm just curious because and it's been a long time since I've seen this show, and I don't know if you can even say it anymore. But did you ever see Sanford and Sons?
Yeah, Sanford and Sons. It's hilarious.
Would that have been considered a racist show? I don't even remember, but I mean, from your perspective.
I'll say no, because he talked about everybody, just like how Archie Bunker talked about everybody. I think if you have a TV show, let's take South Park, right? South Park makes fun of every last person you could think of, right? And I'm okay with that, right? They're making fun of everybody. So if you're watching the show, if I'm black, or because liberals like labels, so I'm a black Christian, right? So if they're making fun of Christians or black
Christian
people,
nationalist,
I'm making fun of America and making fun of everything. I laugh. I think it's funny when we're satired. That's why when I watch The Boys and I hear these super leftists saying, "Oh, they're attacking the right," I'm like, guys, they're making fun of you guys too. Like, they make fun of everybody. But some people are so blind to it that they just latch themselves to one side. But no, if you're making fun of everybody, I'm cool with it. It's fun. It's we can laugh about things. There's different things. There's differences between races, and we can laugh about stuff. We can joke about things. We're doing it out of love. We're not doing it out of hate. Mike, like you have friends that you probably went to school with that you guys clown each other all the time, right? Because you're friends.
That's just how guys show love, bro.
Yeah.
If I tell my friends all the time, I was like, dude, if you don't make fun of me, then I just think you don't like me. So yeah, that's just a thing. I know that we just as guys, like, and there's I guess some guys who can't handle that, and but I know as a culture, male culture, that's how guys know that they like each other, is they just start giving each other a hard time.
Yeah, and again, it's all out of love. You know, you can joke around. Like me and my friends, we grow up, we joke about everything, right? We make race jokes to each other, and again, it's out of love. But and you also know the difference between someone joking and someone being serious, right?
Yeah.
And almost this is directed directly to our Black viewers, and also to the people on the left who have the savior complex. Stop getting angry for no reason. Like, you guys get offended over everything, right? And then also to the liberals, especially the white liberals, stop getting offended for us. Like, you get offended over things that we don't get offended over. Like, the Black people look back and they laugh about this stuff. Guys, stop doing it. You know, there was a video, you know, I'll find it, we'll bring on the later show, where Charlie's talking to this guy, and this guy's saying, well, this white liberal is saying, well, you know, it's harder for Black people to get jobs, internships, and 50% of them get turned down because of their name. So a random Black guy walks up to the microphone and goes, well, I work for senators and congressmen and all this other stuff. And he's like, how is that even possible? You're wrong. And he goes to the Black guy, hold up, wait a minute, I got to let you know something. So he started telling the Black guy how he's oppressed. And the guy's like, I'm not. So these are the things we have to look out for. And especially...
I know as someone who employs people and have done so for many years, not hiring someone because of the color of their skin is racist. But also, simultaneously, hiring someone because of the color of their skin is racist.
100% so. Like, you shouldn't get a job because you're Black, white, or whatever. You should get a job based off your merit and based off your skills, right? And we don't have
has nothing to... That external factor has nothing to do with how good you're going to do your job.
Yeah, I don't think any job. I don't think race dictates anything in any job. I don't think that's a factor keeping you from doing your job. I think actually knowing what you're doing is first and foremost what you have to do. But when you use DIE and you use, you know, affirmative action, and you put people in these places they're not ready for, they tend to fail. And if there's this movie called Undercover Brother, it's about like this. It's like a blaxploitation funny movie, and they make a joke about affirmative action because it's an all Black company, and they have one white guy who works for them. He's like, I'm the affirmative action hire, you know, and they're treating him different because he's white, and, you know, showing you how stupid it is to treat someone different because they're a race, you know. And it's we got to get rid of that. It's offensive. And that's the thing you need to get offended about. You shouldn't get offended because Trump says Black jobs. You should get offended because there are no jobs for Black people because of Harris and Biden giving them all to the migrants. You shouldn't be offended when Bill Cosby said years ago, pick yourself off the dirt and get off government assistance. You should be offended that, you know, people, instead of going to vote, Mike, you've probably never seen this before. I know people that refuse to go to work, refuse to vote, but as soon as the Section 8 line opens up, they're the first in line, and they'll stand in line for 6, 7, 10 hours to get that Section 8, but won't stand in line for 20 minutes to look for a job, right? Because the government dependency.
Yeah, well, you know, I talked to my wife this morning. I'm gonna be careful how I word this, but I was talking to my wife this morning about people a lot of times want to play the victim, and they can never help themselves until they can escape that victim mentality. So I think until people can get out of that victim mentality, they're going to be continue to be repressed and held back. And, you know, until you can. And I used to have this, Jarrett, on my door for a very long time, because this is, in fact, one of the core values of our company. And I don't know if you probably don't even know this, Jarrett, but extreme ownership. You remember that book by Jocko Willink? You probably read it, I bet. But if you didn't, you should go read it. But there was a quote from Grant Cardone, and I mentioned Grant to you the other day. And you know, I think Grant is another very polarizing figure. You either love him or you hate him, which I think is you know, not always a bad thing. I think Trump is the same. He's a very polarizing figure. You either love him or you hate him. But there was a quote from Grant on my door for years, and I mean like probably 7 years, kept it on my door. You cannot control that which you refuse to accept responsibility for. So until you quit playing the victim, you cannot get out of this mentality. You can't help yourself because you're not in control of that, right? And so we you know, look at those things, and the media tries to tell us, you know, all of, you know, we're you know, and I don't know why I feel like, you know, we've been kind of stuck on this for like a week, Jarrett, this and maybe it's something that people need to hear. but the media tries to tell us that, hey, this is because you're this race or because you're that race. This is your role. This is your lot in life. This is white people. This is what to expect of black people. Black people. This is what to expect of yourself. They're nothing but criminals and felons and junkies and drug dealers and all this stuff. I would say, Jared, at this point in my life, and it's kind of cool, like the place God's brought me to in this, I probably have more black friends than I do white friends. And not any single one of them is a criminal. Now, there are a few that are ex-criminals, so I'll give you that. But I also know some white people that are the same too. And I know, like, we talked about another, I won't name drop any names for, reasons I don't have permission to. But, there's another white guy that we know that has a very similar story to some of the black guys we know, right? But, the narrative from the media is this is your lot in life. And they push down the values that try to promote good values and try to bring up the negativity and division, and that's one of the things that I think we need to push back against, Jared.
Yeah, you're spot on about that. They try to tell the media tells black people, you're criminals. They say, oh, you're thugs. You're all sorts of things. Like, I have lots of friends, and I have friends who do not so good things, and they happen. And a lot of them they're black, but they're also white. And in Jersey, you have a lot of eclectic friends, right? So I got a lot of friends who do different things. I have some who are police officers. I got some who are gang members, right? But they encompass all races and in both genders. So I don't think that's a fair assessment that people put out there. But also, we got to be frank that the black community embraces this. They embrace this criminal behavior. They're like, hey, I like that. I want to be a thug. I want to be a gangster. The same rappers and actors doing all this criminal stuff in movies are the same people to send their kids to gated private schools. They don't live in these areas anymore. Like 50 Cent famously, they asked him, like, oh, why don't you live in the hood anymore? He said, what's the point? The whole point is to escape this. Why would I go back and hang on the block? And if those guys who kept, doing the street stuff, you see where they're at. They're in jail or they're dead. They're 6 feet under because they didn't leave that criminal life. So, but the most of the ones you see, they're faking it. They're faking it till they make it. They're not really like this. A lot of them have college degrees, but they know this is what sells. And, there's another video we'll find. It's this gentleman talking about, he was talking about selling music. He's a music producer, and he would go to radio stations and they would ask him, like, I have this song that's positive. Can I play it? I have this song about empowering women. Can I play it? Oh, I have this song about shooting people. Oh, no. He said, I have a song about killing dogs. No, we can't do that. I have a song about beating women. I can't do this. Well, I have a song about a black kid who's talking about selling drugs and shooting people. Oh, let me hear it, right? Because that's what they try to push. And they push the agenda because this makes money. If you look at some of these rappers before they start, they're dressed like me. And when they time to get there, they have tons of face tattoos and they're on heroin and they're doing all sorts of awful things because they think that's what sells. And that's what the powers that be tell them what sells. And these powers that be don't live in these communities. Guys, we are, that's one thing I got to agree with the DNC when Michelle Obama and Oprah said, sometimes don't trust rich people. But you got to know the right rich people. You don't trust rich people like them. You don't trust.
They are the rich people that they're telling you not to trust.
Yeah, you don't trust the rich people who are own these record labels telling you, oh, listen, have your kids listen to Sexy Red. Have your kid get on drugs. Have your kids sell drugs. Don't listen to that. Don't trust them. You can trust the ones like Trump. You can trust the conservative ones. There's a lot of good ones out there. I know this one guy, I won't tell you his name, but he's a multimillionaire, and all he does is spend his time praying for other people. If other people have much money as he did, they'll be traveling the world. He sits at home and just prays for everybody because he cares about this country. He truly cares about people. So people aren't just bad because they got a lot of money. People are bad. You can be poor and awful. Let's just stop putting out that lie too.
Yeah. So Jared, earlier we were talking about the Batman movie, and we actually have a clip. Darius, if you want to bring that up.
So, like, for example, there's some famous movies that can be read as kind of conservative, like Christopher Nolan Batman movies. Like, if you look at some of the things Bane says in the last movie, they're indistinguishable from the progressive critique. Right? He stands outside of a prison and says, "Behind me is a symbol of oppression," and he literally lets all the prisoners out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is logical endpoint of radical anti-police, anti-law and order rhetoric.
Yeah, and this is the the reason I brought that up during that conversation, Jared. That part of the conversation was because it's relevant to what we're talking about. The ideologies that they try to push, that crime is good and law and order is bad.
Yeah, it's awful that they push this stuff. It makes no sense, right? I love that I live next door to a police officer, and the police station is 5 houses from me. You know, I feel protected. When I travel, and I do travel a lot, I know my kids are relatively safe to a certain extent because help is so close. And it's hard for help to get to you sometimes, guys. It's going to take some time. That's why I'm a big advocate of protecting yourself. But please follow your state Second Amendment rules. And if, powers to be that are watching this, I'm not saying do anything illegal, go through the right process to get a weapon, but it's okay to have one, to protect your family and protect your goods. But the Batman thing is very telling because that's what they want. The end game is to let everyone out of jail, just have chaos and, and confusion and anarchy. And, and Bane is an anarchist. His whole thing is all about destroying the establishment because he hates it for personal reasons. It had nothing to do with what's it about, had nothing to do with power. It's just with pure hate. And that's the issue. A lot of these liberals have pure hate for our side. And so they're illogical about their actions. They rather let the world burn and then actually care about things, right? I always say it. People like Kamala Harris and people like Joe Biden, if you watch Game of Thrones, they're like Littlefinger. They rather let the world, they'll rule over a pile of ashes if they can be in charge. And that's what it's all about for this leftist people. It's all about power. And that's why, they put out these movies because like we showed in the previous video, these movies influence you more than actual media clips, more than documentaries, more than your news, more than your actual politicians, because you watch this in the privacy of your home. You watch this when you're relaxing. You're not thinking about this stuff, how it's going to influence you. And that's their point. And that's what they do. And we have to counteract that. And we have to support positive Christian movies. We have to watch stuff like Nefarious and Sound of Freedom. We have to put these good movies forward. We have to check out Reagan. This is something we need to do because money matters. So if we spend our money on those things, we'll have more of these types of movies, right? All right, look at Deadpool. Deadpool brought over $8 billion in because people support Marvel and they support what that's about. We have the same amount of money, and I know tons of Christians went and go saw Deadpool. So you can take your same money and go see something positive and help more people. You can still see Deadpool too. I'm not knocking it. I love Marvel. I'm just saying that you can also see it Reagan too.
Yeah, and the thing is that you were mentioning as I was thinking about what you were saying is the Bible says take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ, right? And you were talking about what we let slip into our private time, into our time of relaxation, but that soaks into our brains. But the leftist agenda is, I think, largely influenced by forces of evil, and the fact that they were very much against this movie Sound of Freedom, they're against this Reagan movie, they were against Top Gun Maverick, is very telling of where they're going. But we were talking before the show about them being against this Sound of Freedom when that came out, and that did well, very well, for a startup organization that is, I would think consider very grassroots, did very, very well. But the fact that they were against it is incredibly crazy. And I wanted to support it just because of everything they stand for, because the money, part of the money that was going towards that was going towards fighting this human trafficking thing. And I know we have a clip from that movie. Let's go ahead and play that.
Is there some kind of problem, officer? Oh yeah, that's a old picture. You know how kids are these days, they just grow up so fast.
That's him.
No, I'm his uncle. Put your hands on the wheel. No, I'm his uncle. You just asked him. Just ask him. I'm his uncle.
Hola. ¿Cómo te llamas?
Osito Teddy.
No, ese nombre no. Tu nombre de verdad.
Miguel. Miguel Aguilar.
Mucho gusto, Miguel. Ven conmigo.
So if you guys are watching this on YouTube or Facebook, I'm guessing by the time you see this that clip will be removed from this just because of copyright reasons. But you can go check it out on our feed on X or on Rumble. We'll make sure and drop the links in the description for you guys so you can see that. But or in the comments, whatever, you guys will be able to get a hold of the links. But it blows my mind, Jarrett, that anybody could be against this message, and it also goes to show you, why would they be against this message? Could it be that Hollywood, the elites, are possibly in support of these things that are going on? These evil, it's nothing short of evil, Jarrett, that this kind of stuff goes on. And I don't know, I've never been to Jersey. Well, I take that back. I've been to Newark like once, like overnight because of a flight to New York. But anyway, irrelevant. I've never been to Jersey, so I don't know how it is there. But in California, you see all of these street vendors all over the place. You see people handing out flowers and selling flowers, and people standing on the street corners and selling things, and carts and different things. What most people, vast majority of people, don't realize is every single one of those people, or maybe not every single one of them, but the vast majority of those people are human trafficking people that they're selling because they have to take that money to their coyotes or their cartel people that are basically own them, because this is a form of human slavery that is going on. That in fact, we might want to bring on our friend Sheriff Mike Boudreau to talk about this in the future. Jarrett, we should mark that down, because I think that's an important issue. We should just dive into a whole episode on immigration and human trafficking, and we have several other people that are part of our extended family that can talk in great detail about this. But the fact that they're against that is just absolutely bonkers to me, and it blows my mind.
Yeah, it makes me so angry. Like, I watched that clip, and I really I just get so angry and frustrated when I see that, because people are against saving children. I'll say this, this is not a representation of the show. This is my own personal belief, but I think sex traffickers should be put to death. I'm 100% on board for the death penalty for this. And they're like, oh, how can you be on board for the death penalty if you're a Christian? I'm about protecting lives, So if those people are ruining lives and torturing kids and they're doing this, they need to be gone. And that's just a personal belief. And as someone who has a relative, a cousin who is on death row, so I understand the gravities of what I'm saying, and I still feel this way, right? And it's so wrong that these people are allowing this to happen. And again, I always say I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but if you talk to your conspiracy friends, they'll say that the government and other people are making money off of this. They're partaking, whether they're procuring the kids themselves, or they're making money on the back end for not looking, or working the border and letting people bring the people in and they're getting paid. I mean, we heard about that whenever we talked about the organ harvesting and fentanyl, how people ignore the border and they get a little money and say, oh, let these cars go by. Not every car is going to have fentanyl. Some of those cars probably have kids in them. And then also we try to ignore stuff. Like, we love going to these major sporting events. We love the Super Bowl. We love the World Series. But we forget to talk about those are the most largest sex trafficking events in the country, right? And we do nothing about it. Like, so you're telling me we have, all of a sudden, we're having a Super Bowl, let's say in Houston, and now there's like 50, 100,000 prostitutes and sex trafficked kids there, and no one noticed? So who's making money from this, right? And also, I want to say this, maybe a little rabbit hole. We got to support actors who are doing right, like Dennis Quaid or Jim. I always say his name wrong. Jim Caviezel. Caviezel, like he's phenomenal. If you had never seen
Chris Pratt, Mel
yeah.
Gibson, Mark
Yeah.
Wahlberg, there's a whole list of them.
Yeah, we got to support these and support those type of directors too who are making good films, you know, like because they're trying to go against the grain, and Hollywood is going to try to destroy them, you know. John Voight the same way, they go after him.
Yeah.
Melissa Joan Hart, you know, Chris explains it all. She was America's sweetheart, and now they hate her with a passion. J.K. Rowling, you know, I love Harry Potter, and now they say she's the devil because she's standing up for women's rights, and she's
actually a liberal.
Yes, and she's unwavering. I love when I see someone who's unwavering in their beliefs because that's what we all need to be. You know, that's why I love 511. Everyone here is so unwavering on their beliefs. They're willing to go to the fray, stand in the gap for what we believe. And I think, you know, guys, we ask you guys to do that all the time, but we do it too because we can't ask you to do something that we're not willing to do ourselves, right? So when we say watch these movies, we're watching them too. When I say support these people, that's what we're doing, right? Because if we all come together, we can make a change. A real change.
Well, Jared, as you say that, it just makes me think about, you know, Christ laid down his life for us, for every single one of us. And where am I going with that? Why am I tying that in here? Because, you know, you say what we stand for here at 511. Well, that starts with me as the founder and CEO. But I know every single one of the people on our team as well feel the same way. Jarrett literally did it as you know, one of the ex-military people on our team. But I know that I am willing to lay down my life for what I believe in, for my family, for my country, for my God. I know Jarrett has already been in positions to do that. I know many members of our extended crew and team that have done that. But you know, the other thing is our past and God willing future president also has had his life on the line, right? And you know, he literally taking shots at him. And did you see recently? Crazy enough, they tried to rush him in what was it, Pennsylvania? That they tried to rush the stage.
Yeah, and these guys all look the same. This like hippie liberal soy boy tried to rush the stage, right? And like I don't understand where he think he was going. Like as soon as he went there, like 15 cops are on you, and like it's like you already saw someone try to assassinate the guy, right? And you're thinking like, oh, this is my best tactic. And one thing I'm going to talk to the protesters out there and the guys who love to tear down walls, all that type of stuff, right? Your protesting doesn't change anything. The fact that you had a sit-in on your Ivy League campus is not going to make Israel change their stance on anything, guys. This is just more arrogance and more of the superior. So the complex the left has. They think they're better than us, guys. So this is when they do things like, oh, me sitting here is going to get you to do something. I'm going to rip up my diploma. That's going to change everything in the Middle East because I ripped up my diploma because I'm so important. You know, they're not important, but they think they are. And that's one thing I love about the right. Everyone is there's no ego. We have some egos. Right? Let's be real. Like Trump has an ego, but it's earned. You know, I have no problem if you have an ego and you can back it up. You know, like the left, like Biden's ego, like
well,
for what?
It's interesting because Trump has an ego, but he can also be very humble at the same time. He's like, hey, I actually earned some stuff, but I'm humble. And you know, because we played, was it yesterday? Recently, I don't know what day it was, but we played a clip of some of the stuff. One of the things that Trump did that nobody's ever heard about to help out society. But you know, what I thought was interesting, Jarrett, was they really tried as much as possible and were frankly somewhat successful in kind of hushing the assassination attempt. And part of it, you know, I was reminded of this morning, you know, when we were prepping for this show, is going to be clip 17, Darius, what Reagan said when he was shot. Go ahead and play it.
It is amazing what getting shot will do to a country.
Good evening, Mr. President.
Please tell me you're Republicans.
Today, Mr. President, we are all Republicans.
Ronald Reagan brought us together. Donald Trump will too.
And so it's interesting. Reagan was shot. And that was actually much more serious than what happened to Trump. But they try to silence that, and I think there is an agenda behind the silencing as well. But you look at the division being created by the left and by the liberals, and I'm sure. What do you say? This allegedly this is for entertainment, information purposes only. So we could hopefully try to keep our airtime, but. You know, there's an agenda behind all of this, and you see the left that they are causing division, and then you see on the right, on the conservative side, they're coming together. We have so many people. I would say probably at least half of Trump's cabinet are current or former Democrats.
Yeah, because people are seeing the writing on the wall. The Democrat, all these people coming on with Trump, they didn't change. The party left them. The party embraced their most extreme wing. And no matter what party you are, libertarian, green, Republican, social democrat, it doesn't matter. If you embrace the most extreme fashions of your party, you will fail and people will leave. Because 99% of the people don't agree with that 1%. And that 1% shouldn't run everything. You know, I'm getting tired of a 1% minority thinking they can impose everything on us, right? Same thing with the LGBT. I'll bring this up. Same thing with the LGBT agenda. That's less than 1% of the country, but they want to change everything, being every movie. And the Native Americans are about 1% too. So why aren't the Native Americans everywhere? Why don't they have 170 holidays in America? You know, it's because it doesn't matter, because they don't make money. You know, so at the end of the day, it's all about the money, guys. Like Mike always says, follow the money, especially with these movies. See who's making the money from these movies. See who's sponsors for these newspapers and these magazines and these podcasts trashing conservative movies. See who's influencing it, right, guys? Especially about like The View. You really need any sponsor for The View. You need to think second about doing business with them, because they know exactly what they're doing, guys. You know, that's why I love how, Mike, when you find a sponsor, you actually sit with them, you talk with them, you make sure that we align with them. And that's great, because it helps the vision move forward. You know, I think more companies need to do that. And also, I think more people need that in general. I don't think enough people consider what they're consuming, whether it's through their eyes or, you know, when you go to the store.
Yeah. And, you know, like companies like Freedom 2.0, Stand Up Now Apparel, companies that are now sponsors of ours. Like we don't just again, you know, and I've said this before, and Jarrett just said it, but I'm going to reiterate it a little bit. We don't just promote these because we can make a quick buck. Like these are companies that are in the trenches with us, pushing the movement forward, fighting the same fight we're fighting, and the collaboration we have with these companies is not just what you see on the screen here, but it goes much deeper. And you know, there's like we're supporting each other and advising in a way, you know, not necessarily on boards or anything like that, but we're advising each other. Hey, this is what's working for us, what's working for you, and you know, helping each other grow. So helping each other spread the movement. But you know, I think that there is future or hope for the future. There's hope for America. As Dan Bongino says, and this is one of my favorite sayings that he says, I'm long on America. I believe in our future. And I think that we are going to see victory in November. I think that there's a lot of signs, including the recent Zuckerberg admission. I wouldn't even call it an apology, because my wife pointed that out. It wasn't really an apology. He just kind of admitted what he did to try to get in front of it, because I think he sees momentum going in that direction. And you know, there was a moment on Patrick Bet-David's podcast just recently that I think, you know, I want to leave you guys with, and I think that this is almost a mic drop moment. So I'm gonna let it end here, and you guys check this out.
You mean to tell me in the span of a week, this is Trump's greatest week he's had on this run? This is the greatest week he's had. And last night I had a conversation with Kevin McCarthy. Good conversation. He says the next 70 days in the political life cycle is 10 years. Anything can change. Don't be fooled. But during this 1 week, RFK, Tulsi, Zuck, all in a week, you're having something like this happen in a single week. Guess what this means? Maybe, just maybe, this is not going to be a small victory, Tom. Maybe this is going to be a type of a victory that we saw where only Minnesota didn't support Reagan. Maybe this is going to be something like that the next 70 days.
So that's I think a mic drop moment. I'm going to leave you with that. Have a great day. God bless.